Hello, my name is Lisa Smith, and I am one of the matchmakers here at Midwest Matchmaking. So, I am going to go over just some tips and tricks that we have for dating during COVID-19 for those of you who want to stick with social distancing and not meet in person until you determine whether there's some sort of connection between you two. We've talked about this in the past. We have a lot of live videos on it already, but with COVID cases on the rise in many places, I thought some of you might want a little refresher on what we found works best for our clients here. So, our clients aren't strangers to virtual dating. We work with a lot of singles around the Midwest, and many of them are really open on location. They don't like to limit themselves with distance. If they do live further away from someone that they're interested in, a lot of them start out with a virtual date before they decide to meet in person. Um, the first thing that the first kind of tip I have is to arrange the date beforehand. So, just as you would if you were going to meet in person, gentlemen, I would recommend calling your date a couple days prior and arranging how you two want to meet. I would say skip the phone call date, try to meet virtually face to face if you aren't going to meet in person. FaceTime, Skype, Zoom, any of those are really great. Body language and nonverbal cues are really important in determining whether there's any sort of connection, and a phone call does not give you that option. So, when possible, definitely meet face to face. And then let's see, the next one is since you are meeting face to face, make sure you're still making an effort with your appearance. So your date is going to see you. So wear what you would wear to a first date. Ladies, for you, that might mean like a blouse and try to make it a bright color. And then gentlemen, skip the t-shirts, do like a button up or a polo. Ladies, do your hair and makeup just like you would if you were to meet someone in person. If you are looking good, that will help with your confidence, which is also really key to making a good first impression. So, anything you would wear to a first date is great. And then the next tip kind of goes along with your appearance and making a good first impression, and that is to figure out your setup beforehand. So, if you're meeting on Zoom or FaceTime, make sure that your computer, all of your technology is good to go. They'll be able to hear you and see you. It's hard to get the date going if you can't see or hear each other when you're supposed to be able to do both. So, make sure all of that's working. Do a test run like an hour or so beforehand. And then that way, if something isn't working, you have time to contact your date beforehand and arrange something else. If you're using your phone, maybe invest in a tripod or set your phone up on like a stack of books or something. That way, you're not stuck holding it the whole time. This way, too, you can also like check your angles, make sure you have good flattering angles, and then make sure that you can see yourself clearly in your screen. If you can't, your date probably can't either. So make sure you have good lighting. It's great to be able to set yourself up in front of a window if possible. If anything, just make sure that the windows aren't behind you. If it's behind you, then it will wash you out. Your date won't be able to see you well. Speaking of what's behind you, also make sure your background is clean. We've had people before who like have told us that their dates had a messy background, and that doesn't make a good first impression. So it's just one room in your house. You can pick it up a little bit before you meet your date. Make sure whatever's behind you is going to leave a good first impression as well. What else? So the next step is first date conversation. This should be really similar to what you're talking about on a first date if you meet in person. We know it's easier said than done, but try not to talk about COVID the whole entire time. It's just kind of keep the first date conversation fun and lighthearted. COVID talk isn't really fun or lighthearted. So steer away from that. We know it's like an easy go-to because you are both going through it, but try to stick with like hobbies, travel, pets. Any of those are always like really good, safe go-to topics for your first date. The last tip is one that we have a lot of clients asking us about, and that is when to meet in person. So this answer is going to be different based on your comfort level. It will be different totally from person to person. I recommend trying to meet like by the third or fourth date if you're comfortable with it. But definitely do talk to your date about any precautions that they are taking and kind of factor that into your decision. You might also want to figure out what sort of outdoor activities are in your area. So here in the Midwest, it is getting a little bit colder, so that makes it more difficult, but there are like some really good heated patios around. I know that often makes people more comfortable meeting in person for a date. So I know too that the asking your date about like what precautions they're taking beforehand is kind of an awkward and uncomfortable conversation to have, but it is important to assess the risk that you're taking for yourself and your family and anyone else that you're around often. And then also, while it is a difficult, awkward conversation, it's kind of starting out your relationship or potential relationship on the right foot with that really open communication. Virtual dates are really great for determining whether you're interested in someone, but meeting in person is really important too in determining any sort of spark or building on any sort of chemistry that you two might have. So we know dating right now is really difficult, but we also know that human relationships and connections are really beneficial, especially in these times when you might not be able to have a lot of face-to-face interaction with other people. So we here at Midwest Matchmaking are busier than ever. We have singles who are realizing that they'd like to spend like social distancing time with someone else. Also, with not a lot going on otherwise, they're finding they're finding that they have the time finally to date. So we've been seeing a lot of new clients. The clients that we have been seeing are really enjoying the virtual dating. We have one couple who let us know a couple months ago that they were engaged. They met in March, right when COVID kind of hit the Midwest, and we had just started virtual dating. We set them up for a virtual date on a Friday night, and they totally hit it off. They met in person Saturday and Sunday, and then they were engaged like 4 months later. So it is different. It takes some getting used to, but we are seeing that it is working. So if you are wanting to start virtual dating and not really sure where to or how to, our matchmakers can help you. You can message us here on our Facebook page, or you can also email Courtney, the owner of the company, and her email is just Courtney at midwestmatchmaking.com. So we look forward to hearing from you.